it's cool. You know, it doesn't make me feel any way special. It doesn't make me feel like a bigger person. It just makes me feel like I know how to throw a party.
All right, y'all, buckle up, because Hollywood just got rocked by a legal roller coaster no one saw coming. 1 minute, Sean Diddy Combs and Jay-Z were about to face court over a lawsuit involving a 13-year-old girl. The next, boom, case dismissed with prejudice. That means it's over, done, can't be reopened. But while the headlines scream victory, the questions left behind are even louder. Let's unpack this. This lawsuit shook the entire industry. A girl, known only as Jane Doe, claimed she was assaulted by Diddy and Jay-Z as a child. At first, the complaint used vague tags like Celebrity A and Celebrity B. But when the amended filing named Jay-Z outright, social media lost its mind. The man behind the legal attack, attorney Tony Busby, and baby, he wasn't pulling punches. He said he was going after powerful men tied to an underground abuse ring. This wasn't just a lawsuit. It felt like the start of a Harvey Weinstein-style reckoning, hip-hop edition. But Jay-Z's legal team, they were locked and loaded. From the second his name came out, they hit back hard. They tore into the timeline, pointed out logistical flaws, and questioned everything. Even Jane Doe's father told NBC he had no memory of picking her up from the gas station that night. That's all Jay's lawyers needed. They pounced like sharks in bloody water. And it didn't stop there. Jane Doe claimed she was approached outside Radio City Music Hall during the 2000 VMAs by one of Diddy's drivers, lured to an after-party, given a shady drink, and taken to a house where it all went down. But Jay's team dissected every piece of that. Her age, the location, the layout, even the security setup that night. Bottom line, they weren't just denying the story. They were calling it a complete fabrication, loudly, publicly, and with receipts. Then came the legal curveball, sanctions. Jay-Z's lawyers actually filed a motion demanding penalties against Busby. That's serious business. We're talking fines, legal fees, possibly even a black mark on Busby's career. Jay's camp said this case should have never made it to court, and that any competent attorney should have spotted the holes from day one. It wasn't just a rebuttal, it was a warning. Back off, or we'll bury you. Busby clapped back, saying trauma can mess with memory and that the inconsistencies were understandable. He defended Jane Doe and said his firm did the work in good faith. But still, he signed that complaint, which made him legally responsible for everything inside it. Just when we were all gearing up for the showdown of the century, poof, gone. The notice of voluntary dismissal dropped quietly. No fanfare, no apology, no explanation. Just a legal note saying Jane Doe wouldn't be refiling. Under Rule 41, she didn't have to give a reason. But let's be real, the silence was deafening. So what really happened? Rumors are swirling that a backdoor settlement might have gone down, confidentiality agreements, quiet payouts, maybe even threats of counter-litigation. Some sources are whispering that the looming sanctions and growing legal fees had Busby second-guessing the strength of his case. But others? They think money talked, and Jane Doe might have been convinced to walk. Either way, what's clear is that Jay-Z and Diddy just dodged the courtroom battle that could have ended their careers. Period. Jay-Z wasted no time popping off on Twitter via Rock Nation. He called the case frivolous, fictitious, and appalling, and blasted it as a desperate money grab. He said the trauma his wife, yes, Beyoncé, their kids, and loved ones endured couldn't be erased just because the case was dropped. He made it personal. Rock Nation's statement even shaded the legal system, saying, "This 1800 lawyer gets to file a suit hiding behind Jane Doe. And when the money grab fails, they walk away with no consequences." They said the court should protect victims, sure, but also protect the innocent from being smeared without proof. Diddy's camp echoed the same vibe. They accused Busby of using media hype to push fake claims and said this dismissal, without settlement, proved the whole thing was smoke and mirrors. They even hinted that Diddy is being targeted because of his present circumstances. We'll get into that soon, trust. But just when it looked like the storm was passing, boom! Another Jane Doe stepped forward, and this one, even darker. Filed in New York just last Friday, this new complaint accuses Diddy of being deeply involved in a trafficking ring. We're talking about underage girls allegedly being brought to a warehouse-style party in Miami back in 2020. Girls who were allegedly handed over by traffickers for the pleasure of Diddy and his crew. Let that sink in. According to the lawsuit, Jane Doe, this time from Florida, says she was trafficked as a minor and subjected to at least 20 separate assaults that night. And it gets worse. She claims Diddy himself paid the traffickers to bring her and other girls to this party. It's a straight-up horror story, a gut punch. Tony Busby? Yep, he's back, representing this new Jane Doe. And this time, the claims are so recent, so graphic, and so damning that they're impossible to brush off as decades-old confusion. This didn't happen in 1999. This is 2020, meaning there might be video evidence, witnesses, fresh details that haven't faded over time. The lawsuit also doesn't stop at just blaming Diddy. It goes after his whole empire. Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, even unnamed employees and contractors. It paints Diddy not as just some party-throwing artist, but as a man who weaponized his money, his fame, and his businesses to carry out exploitation behind closed doors. It alleges that Diddy used his companies as cover on the surface, music, entertainment, business deals, but behind the scenes, allegedly, abuse, coercion, and control. The complaint claims he and his team lured girls in with promises of industry opportunities, only to trap them in situations where they were violated and silenced. The complaint even says Jane Doe was trafficked since age 12, moved across the country by different traffickers, and regularly drugged to keep her compliant. It's beyond disturbing. It's stomach-turning. And if any part of this is proven true, we're looking at the collapse of one of the most powerful empires in hip-hop history. And baby, it's just getting started. And just when you thought it couldn't go any deeper, this saga pulls another twist straight out of a Netflix scandal docuseries. Because now, people aren't just asking what happened that night or who was at that Miami party. They're asking the bigger, uglier questions. Like, how many of these parties really happened? How many women were brought in through the back door, silenced with drugs, and pushed into trauma they couldn't escape? And if this was all happening under Diddy's watch, who else knew? Because let's be real, y'all, someone had to know. These weren't one-on-one hotel room encounters. Jane Doe's story talks about dozens of men, multiple girls, hired traffickers, locations prepped for after-hours activities. This wasn't casual. It was organized, structured, hidden in plain sight. And the lawsuits are finally peeling back that curtain. Now think about the ripple effect. If even one of Diddy's employees, a driver, a manager, a security guard, is found to have facilitated this knowingly, then this case becomes more than just civil. It becomes criminal conspiracy. And if that door opens, federal prosecutors will kick it wide open. That's why people close to Diddy are sweating bullets right now. Because once the legal machine starts rolling, it doesn't stop. Phones get seized, emails get subpoenaed, surveillance footage gets pulled. What was once rumors whispered in the back halls of the music industry suddenly becomes courtroom testimony, and that's when careers collapse. We already saw the first domino fall when Jane Doe's lawsuit got dismissed. Sure, that looked like a win, but now the public's paying even closer attention. And baby, they're not just watching, they're digging. Old interviews, dusty footage, whispers from ex-bodyguards and forgotten artists. Suddenly, those wild stories don't sound so wild anymore. Diddy's past is under the microscope. Every NDA, every disappeared model, every dancer who spoke in hushed tones, it's all back on the table. Even media outlets that used to praise him, they're switching sides. The sympathy is gone. The narrative is flipping. Meanwhile, Tony Busby is on offense. Sources say he's already talking to new victims, tracking down the men allegedly involved in that Miami party. And baby, subpoenas are coming. Some of these guys don't even know what's about to hit them. And Busby, he's spacing the lawsuits out, one bombshell at a time. Not chaos, strategy. He's turning this into a slow-motion takedown, headline by headline. And it's working, because now the question isn't if there'll be more lawsuits, it's how many. Will more women come forward? Will a former bodyguard flip? Will someone on the inside cut a deal? Don't forget, racketeering cases love a good informant. And if just one of Diddy's people decides to talk, it's a wrap. The house of cards is shaking, and the wind's picking up fast. Meanwhile, Jay-Z, silent. No tweets, no statements, just a cold, polished press release from Roc Nation. And that silence, it's got people talking. Jay usually picks his words with precision, but now it feels less like peace and more like a strategic retreat. It's giving, let me dip before this gets messier. And those famous friends, Beyonce, Rihanna, Blake, quiet unfollows. No birthday love, no Roc Nation brunch cameos. Hollywood is slowly but surely pulling away. Because in that world, silence says everything. So, where does that leave us? Diddy's still behind bars, gearing up for trial. Jane Doe's lawsuit may be gone, but plenty more are lined up. Busby's not slowing down. The media's on it like sharks, and with each passing day, we're inching closer to the truth. Can Diddy beat the charges? Maybe. He's powerful, connected, and his legal team's no joke. But in the court of public opinion, he's already losing. Because today, people believe the victims first. Jane Doe's story is already out there, and you can't unring that bell. As for Jay-Z, he may have dodged this bullet, but the heat's not gone. All it takes is one more lawsuit, one more name drop, one more leak. We're in the middle of a storm now, and baby, the thunder's only getting louder. So stay locked in, because the next headline might be the one that blows the lid off this whole industry.